Hi, Kentucky. I am Dianna Minor, and I wanted to share with you some things about culturally responsive teaching and my experience as a teacher. I am a secondary language arts teacher at heart. I've spent time in the reading realm as well, and I've spent my entire career thus far in the secondary realm. 6 through 12. And I've also spent time teaching at an alternative school for a couple of years prior to coming back to our school as a reading teacher and also as an instructional coach. But I also work at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I teach a course there every semester. So secondary is my world. And I'm just excited to share some things with you about CRT, culturally responsive teaching. And I'm just going to walk through some little highlights that I have for you today. And as you can see in the background, I'm in my classroom. Our school is on a hybrid model right now because of COVID. So I do not have kids today. So we're working virtually, so to speak. Okay, so let's take a look at CRT. What is CRT? And culturally responsive teaching. And what it is, to me, it is inclusivity. It is making sure that I, as a teacher, reach all of my kids and tap into their strengths and to know their weaknesses, getting to know the student at heart. And that means being responsive to every kid that is in front of us each and every day. And I use this phrase often. I feel like when students leave their homes each day, they're crossing a border. They're crossing a border into different classes and different classrooms, and they're bringing their cultures with them, and they're bringing their experiences with them. And we as teachers, because they're all so diverse coming to us, we have to respond to the kids that are in front of us each day. And specifically in my school, I'm in south of Birmingham. We have over 50 languages in our school. And just that's by the nature of I guess you could say the makeup of the community. We have a very diverse student population. And because of that, I think it has pushed our teachers to think outside of the box and to actually give students opportunities to showcase what they learn. And I think in the English world, we have the best opportunity to do that because of the literature that we can incorporate into our classrooms, and also because of the writing opportunities that we can lend our kids there. Or it could be pulling in technology. I had a student a while back, very shocking, ended up doing a podcast. And that was sort of neat and different and unique. And then a teacher down the hall from me, she had a kid that ended up wanting to do a TED talk about his experience about a text. So it is basically being inclusive with our teaching practices. So I wanted to walk through with you a short little presentation that I have for you. What it is responsiveness. It is making sure that all students have equal access to the playing field in our classroom so that they all can be successful. And it is also about how can we know our students best. And I start the beginning of the year by front loading. And what I mean by front loading is I make sure, or I try my best at the beginning of the year to get all information from my students as much as I can to make sound decisions as far as instruction. I want to know learning styles. I want to know their interests. I want to know what's important to them. And then with those profiles, I am building or using that information for the duration of the school year. And I think that is the heart of CRT. Culturally responsive teaching, getting to know the kid and being able to respond to the kid that we have in front of us each and every day. How to pave the way to CRT. As I mentioned earlier, getting feedback from students, looking at student surveys, and some of that, and you can find several things online now as far as student surveys and information about students. Visual learner. What type of learner? Do they learn best by seeing? Or do they learn better by doing? Or do they learn better by listening? Or they're a combination of all three? So getting information back that students know, especially at the secondary level, they know exactly how they learn best. And getting that information from them can help guide you in your teaching practices or instructional practices that you implement each and every day. And I also want to know about their interests and backgrounds, because there may be opportunities during the year where I can actually pull in those elements to showcase, or for them to show me how their interest or how they're influenced by what they have read, or something that they want to showcase in the classroom. And as I said, especially in our subject area, English, the language arts umbrella, there are so many opportunities that can lend itself to that. And also getting information from parents. Parent surveys or questionnaires have been helpful to me as well. And then when we're looking at CRT, I feel like the culturally responsive teaching is such a broad umbrella, but it's a big umbrella. And underneath that is so many things. And I remember when I mentioned earlier about getting to know students as far as students' interests and their learning styles and things like that, but also looking at the equity factor, making sure that we are implementing instructional practices where all students are engaged. Student engagement is so important, and we can do that in a variety of ways. And I have some of those listed here: reciprocal teaching, using popsicle sticks, the turn and talk, think, pair, share, using breakouts, any activity that I guess you can say promote student engagement is what I try to do in making sure that all students are equally involved in the learning process. And I love Carol Ann Tomlinson. She is the guru, I guess you could say, of differentiation. And I feel that the reason I'm mentioning differentiation with CRT, because I feel like CRT, or I know for sure it is differentiation. You're looking at the content that you have. You're thinking about the process of how you're going to deliver that content to students. And you're also looking at what product are they producing in the end to show mastery. To me, as a teacher, I don't necessarily have to have, we don't have, I, for myself, let me speak in the, from my perspective, I look at assessments in a variety of ways. Formative assessment and summative assessment, they can all look so different each time. We don't have to have an actual test or a quiz. We can get other ways for students to show us what they've learned. That could be in the form of a visual essay. Can they actually write or show, instead of writing, use words or phrases and visuals to tell a story or to tell about a topic? Or they can use a podcast using research skills through the form of a podcast. Or it could be students doing a presentation, and it could actually be collaborating on a Google Doc or the Google form. There are so many avenues now as far as that product that we can produce. And it doesn't always have to be that assessment that had, we've traditionally learned 20 years ago when I first started, as far as a test and a quiz. It can be a variety of different things. But going back to this slide here, I feel that the heart of differentiation, or the heart of CRT, is differentiation, so to speak, and looking at the content, the process, and the product. And also looking at what CRT is, expanding on that idea. We're creating specialized differences in a child's learning experience. CRT is also creating multiple options, not more of the same. And as I mentioned before, Carol Ann Tomlinson has great texts out about differentiation, which is a part of CRT. It's not the end goal, or it's not everything, but it is a part of CRT. And at the heart of everything is looking at your delivery. How are you delivering instruction to your students to make sure that you are targeting the diversity that's in front of you? And diversity doesn't always have to be a student's race. It can actually be their culture. It could be their backgrounds, their interests. Diversity sort of runs the gamut as far as the spectrum and how broad that term is. So we're looking at everything that we can to make sure that we are delivering the best instruction to our students based on what we have and what we've gathered. And spending that front loading at the beginning of the year is so vital. And that is something that can be also ongoing throughout the year, because as we know, students, when they come to us, they leave differently than when they came. I wanted to just take a second to just share some CRT professional development texts that you may have an interest in purchasing, or you may have it in your school library. This one here, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, this one basically focuses on looking at instructional practices and also looking at a little bit of, I guess you could say, brain research and pulling into how those strategies, what are the best strategies that can be used in the classroom based on some brain research and also some previous studies. Another one here, educating culturally responsive teachers. This is basically looking at practical strategies that you can also use in the classroom. And this is a great text also. I have fallen in love with that one. Black Teachers on Teaching. And this is basically looking at different teachers sharing their perspectives on teaching in the profession. And I also have here In a Different Voice by Carol Gillian. And this one basically looking at gender differences and how that pretty much can play a role in the classroom. So all of these texts are I found to be very useful to me over the years. But overall, I just wanted us to get back to that definition of culturally responsive teaching. It is complex. It's a big umbrella, but it just basically involves, in this simplicity, careful planning and then looking at your objectives and your activities so that we can make sure that what we're doing in the classroom can reach as many kids, if not all, that we have before us. I have some other texts I want to share with you. This one is Dream Keepers and Gloria Billings. She's done a lot in the world of CRT, so this is a good author to check out. I love her work as well. And there's another one here, Black American students in an affluent suburb, looking at student engagement. That's another one that I have found to be very useful as well. And here, The Skin We Speak. That's another one that you see on the screen here. And this one is about language and culture in the classroom. It's pretty much an honest, raw conversation about race and also about culture, and looking at language and how all of those elements come into play. And then another one here, Black Students, Middle Class Teachers. Just another educational book about educational improvement. Although this is an older text, it's about 20 years old or so, but it's sort of, I guess you could say, built the foundation for CRT, some of the things we talk about as far as culturally responsive teaching today. Here's another one, Culturally Proficient Instruction. And this one here is a very good book. And I think this is one that has been very helpful. Just looking at more strategies in the world of CRT, how to teach students who don't look like you, more strategies based. And then this one I wanted to highlight just a little bit. This one talks about theory and research, and this is Geneva Gay, and she's very big in the CRT world as far as one of those pioneers as far as talking about culturally responsive teaching, and a lot of theory, practice, and data pretty much in this text here. And then another one, why are all the Black students sitting together in the cafeteria? This one is just an honest talk about race. You may have seen this text before, and this is by Beverly Tatum. So another great text as well. So those are just some professional texts I wanted to share with you. Just these are things or texts and resources that I've used over the years to pull in different strategies and think about the ways that I can teach all of the students that I have. And it is an ongoing process, and it's one that I'm passionate about, and I'm sharing with you with hopes that you can share some things out with your colleagues, strategies and resources that you have used that have helped you over the years. And then the golden book I wanted to highlight before I conclude today, Goldie Mohammed. She is, I don't want to say new in the CRT world, but she has done a great job as far as bringing culturally responsive teaching back into the forefront again, but looking at it from a different perspective of finding the genius in the students that we have. I like the positivity that's in this book, and it's an equity framework for culturally culturally and historically responsive literacy. So she is one. I obtained this book at the Red Mountain Writing Project, which is part of the National Writing Project this summer that I completed. And it's golden. It's a very great text. If you want to learn about equity and culture responsive teaching, sort of like in current terms, definitely check out her text as well. So, Kentucky teachers, I'm excited that I'm able to share some things with you today. And I wanted to leave you with a quote that I found that sort of resonated with me recently. If a curriculum does not respond to a culture, then the culture won't respond to the curriculum. I thought that was very powerful. So I'm hoping that you all have a great, successful year, and hopefully one day I will be able to see some of you actually in person. So take care, and I will see you soon. Thank you.